What a great film, what a great man. And here's another great man who actually knew Fangio. What was he like?
He's quite an incredible bloke, James, actually. See, in those days, the late 1940s, all the drivers came from Europe. No one had ever heard of this bloke, Juan Manuel Fangio, who came over from Argentina. He drove a private Maserati. He blew everybody off in about 4 of the minor Grand Prix that they had in those days, as a result of which he got a drive with Alfa Romeo in 1950. And then he won 5 world championships. He did it for 4 different constructors. And all the time, he was a comparatively old man. He didn't start in Formula One until he was about 37. He was one of nature's gentlemen. He was quiet, dignified, always very courteous, but he was a gigantically astute businessman, and he only signed contracts for 1 year at a time, so that at the end of the season, he could decide which of the teams was going to be better for next year. And that's one of the reasons he was always ahead. But he was just so much faster than everyone else. I mean, he had an enormous number of pole positions. He only drove in about 50 Grand Prix because there weren't many of them in a season in those days, and he won 25. It is a quite incredible record, and I don't think we'll ever see the like of him again.
Of course, he won the Italian Grand Prix 3 times, and in those days they used to have that really fearsome banking here at Monza, didn't they?
Yeah, and very, very bumpy and dangerous it was too. It practically shook the cars to pieces. But he was just that sort of a driver. It didn't matter to Fangio whether it was flat or banked. He would take the lead and stay there and win.
But always, this track has always had a certain history of magic.
This track is magic. I'll tell you a little story about it. The first year I came here, I was walking around and I got to the Parabolica and I saw a little crack in the track and there was a flower growing out of it. And I thought to myself, Nuvolari could have driven over this. And I reached down and I pulled out the flower and I've got it pressed in a Monza yearbook at home to this day.
I never knew you were into flower pressing, Murray. Well, our time travel continues as we return to the modern day now, this time away from the track, though. What do you think Grand Prix drivers like to do to relax? Well, in David Coulthard's case, play golf, amongst other things, at home in his native Scotland. This report from DC.
Hi there. My name's David Coulthard, and I drive for the West McLaren Mercedes team. And I'm going to take you on a tour of Scotland. First of all, we're off to St Andrews.
Oh, come down. Oh, no. Oh.
It's great to be back in Scotland. Normally the promotions we do are throughout Central Europe or Eastern Europe. To get back to my own country and get in touch with the roots is fantastic, and we've got a good couple of days lined up. Looking forward to going to the castle, and we've got a few surprises in store, and very much looking forward to that and recharging the batteries ready for the next Grand Prix. We're in St Andrews at the golf course, and thought I'd show you some traditional, well, historical points I think that most people would know about if they're thinking about Scotland, other than just whiskey and smoked salmon. This is the first time for me to be at the course. The only Grand Prix circuit that shares a similar setting, I guess, would be Monte Carlo. There's good parallels, actually, between Monaco and St Andrews, because both by the sea, both have a great history. And, well, I've only won at Monaco. I've never won anything here. I'm so confident I'm going to put the camera behind the hole here, so bear with me 1 second. Right, you can see where my ball is.
You want a line on this, dude? Yeah, I hit from that one.
What?
Say well done or something. I don't believe it, he's holding. Thanks very much, thank you. Enjoyed it, thank you.
Well done, David. Good putt.
Beauty, I won.
Now to your favourite part, the 19.
Yeah. There's a great deal of tourism here, obviously, so that brings people from all over the world. Big university city, so again a lot of young people, a lot of pubs and clubs and restaurants, and there's a real buzz and good atmosphere. And I've been coming here for the last 10, 12 years for New Year and some celebrations. It's interesting because I've worn the kilt since I was a little boy, but I've never actually been to a factory and seen how the kilt's actually woven. I probably wear it about 4 or 5 times a year, which isn't bad really considering I don't live in Scotland anymore. The reception's normally pretty good because, especially if I wear it in Monaco, where most people are in the dinner suit, then you're obviously standing out from the crowd. And the only regret is really not having a full Scottish name, you know, then I can have my own tartan. Yeah, normally I wear the Campbell tartan because Coulthard's an English name and I have to go to my mother's side of the family, which is Campbell. Yeah, I've good Scottish support when I'm going racing. They may be aware of me and recognise me as the only Scottish Grand Prix driver. They sort of give you a knowing nod and maybe say good luck, and that's as much as you get from the Scots. They're quite reserved in that way. She's going to smile for us though, aren't you? That's it. There you go. I am proud of my roots, and I'm obviously proud to be Scottish, and you know, it's plain for everyone to see. But I've never worn the McLaren tartan, although I do have a Millennium tartan. I did organise a McLaren kilt for Ron Dennis, so he has that kilt, and he did wear it to the Autosport Awards one year, so he's an honorary Scotsman. There's a lot of hard work putting the kilt on, so I appreciate the effort that ladies go to when they get dressed up.
Sorted?
Absolutely. David, very happy to give you this McLaren tartan kilt, 21st century kilt pin. Keep you safe and kilted for the future.
Excellent, thank you very much for that. You've got to say it's pretty stylish, isn't it? So
that's symbolising the lightning bolt evolution of the kilt into the 21st century.
Well, you can only say that when you're sober, so I dare say I won't have the opportunity to tell anyone else that, but thank you very much. Thanks very much for showing me around.
Pleasure meeting you, and good luck.
Thank you. Well, I'm off to the castle now. We've got a few surprises in store. Edinburgh Castle. So you were telling me that this is the 1 o'clock.
This is the world famous 1 o'clock run. Fired every day, Monday to Saturday at 1 o'clock. Never fired on Sunday, Christmas Day and Good Friday. And many people ask us why 1 o'clock. Well, we're in Edinburgh, the capital of Scotland. If we were to fire at 12 o'clock, it cost us 12 shells. 1 o'clock's a lot better for us. Now people would say you couldn't possibly fight in that. Why not? Because it's very light. Look at that.
Oh, wow. I didn't realise. I thought that looked really heavy.
It looked heavy, yeah?
Yeah. Couldn't actually just hold a little camera for things.
You deal with the camera crew.
Yeah. Right, so if you don't keep up. But why did they have it so big? Because literally they were using like that, were they?
2 hands, yeah.
Yeah. Jeez, that's pretty
The more
impressive.
powerful men would have them, like say Wallace and Bruce and whatnot, you know?
Yeah.
These are Wallace's sword's actually bigger than that one.
But this is just a replica.
It's original.
This
Goes
is
back to something like the 14th century.
Jesus. That is very interesting.
Pretty frightening, eh?
Yeah, it is.
You get 6 heads in 1 minute.
Yeah. Thank you for being able to actually hold it. Was it
just lean against the wall now?
Yeah.
Hi, David.
Hi, Sam. How are you
How are
doing?
you?
Good. I've been hearing a lot about you, so...
Oh, I've heard a lot
you're
about you,
obviously a
David.
famous man in
Aye.
these parts.
So they tell me.
Yeah.
And yourself?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to seeing you do your thing with the gun.
Well, I hope I didn't get you too big a fright. I'm sure you've had many a fright in your life.
Good. Right.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to get changed into my racing suit, so it'll make a nice picky when you're doing that. So if you'll excuse me,
Right,
I'll go and do
feel
that
free.
now. There's a great deal of history here at the castle, and it's fantastic. In fact, we're creating a little bit of history by having a Grand Prix car up at the castle. I don't believe that's ever been done before, and you know, I'm pretty thrilled about that. This is definitely one of the pictures I'll be putting in the family album. Well, Tom, you're obviously a popular man here. You've drawn a bit of a crowd. Look at all these people here to see you.
Normally get 600 a day in the summer.
Is that right? Right, I'm very conscious of the fact, right, we've got, at what time do you make it actually? Because I've got,
12:48 and
let me just check your,
27.
12:48 and 27, and I'm obviously a wee bit behind, so I'm just going to adjust my watch. Grand Prix driving is all about the clock. It's all about timing. And what Tam does there with the firing of the 1 o'clock gun is obviously very important, and I was conscious of the fact that hopefully when we were sort of obviously disturbing his normal routine, it wouldn't affect the firing of the gun. Right, Tam's just about to load the gun. Tell you what, I think he means the business. I think you've chucked that gun in there, if he'd dropped it, it would have gone off. hope that nothing happens to Tam in the next 30 seconds, otherwise I might need to pull the trigger. Any minute now, my ears are going to bleed.
Okay with that?
Jesus. I tell you what.
Very impressive.
You alright, David?
Not really. I tell you to watch that on playback because for sure I was told not to swear, but I think I did maybe. Scary stuff, isn't it?
Would you like to come across?
Despite sort of being 29 years old, it was actually a big thrill to stand there and watch the gun being fired because it is such a historic part of what happens here at the castle. And I can't remember exactly how many years it's been done like that, but it's well over 100 anyway, and an important part of the sort of history of this castle. There you go, sir. Little something for you.
I'm going to treasure this the rest of my life. My daughter keeps saying that I don't live in a house, a museum.
Yeah.
And this will be treasured. And you've certainly converted me to motor racing, and I'll follow you. Wherever you go in the world, I'll be watching for you, seeing how you do it.
That's excellent.
And I wish you all success in the future, David.
Thank you very much.
And if you come back to the castle, come and see me.
I will do, absolutely, yeah, no. I've got no idea what I'm doing here. This is where it gets very embarrassing.
A lot of people say it's just like sort of sitting on a horse, right?
Of which I don't ride either.
No,
so, with what we did earlier at the golf course, obviously the game was invented in Scotland, to be here at the castle, I think it's been a great tour.
Well, it was nice to be back in Scotland, but it was a bit too busy, too much running around. But nonetheless, hopefully it's given everyone an opportunity to see a little bit of my home country. And we were a little bit lucky with the weather. We know that. It didn't rain. But as you can see with St Andrews and the castle, we have some beautiful places. So I feel like I'm working for the Scottish Tourist Board now, but come and visit us.
Thanks, David. Don't give up the day job. Coulthard there doing his bit for the Scottish Tourist Board. Tomorrow, of course, he turns his attention to a race he won in 1997, the Italian Grand Prix.
DC, a winner here at Monza a few years back, but can he do it again this weekend? That's one of the questions we'll be considering when we have a look at the season so far. Coming up next.
Welcome back. Now, when Michael Schumacher won 4 of the first 6 Grand Prix this season, we all thought the championship would be over by September. And yet here we are, Mika Häkkinen is leading it. It's been a strange, topsy-turvy kind of season, hasn't it, Murray?
Yeah, James, one of my deathless cliches is in Formula One, anything can happen, and it usually does, and it's all happened this season. I mean, if you look at the championship realistically, there's 3 people in it and have been all the time. Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, and I'm ruling out poor old Rubens Barrichello. They've all lost points. You see, Mika Häkkinen lost 20 points in those first 2 races with engine problems. He's lost probably another 10 for one reason or another subsequently. David Coulthard's lost a lot of points. He had a wing infringement in Brazil. He's had a couple of bodged pit stops where he came in too late, and he's had another problem as well. But Michael Schumacher, poor old Michael Schumacher, has lost a minimum of 40 points. Suspension at Monaco, burnt out by the exhaust pipe. His engine gave up the ghost in France. He punted off in Austria, punted off in Germany. So if, which is Formula One spelt backwards, Michael Schumacher had had all his points, he might have been leading the championship now.
Outside of the top 3 contenders, I think one of the biggest stories for me this year, particularly from a British perspective, has been Jenson Button. What have your thoughts been on him?
I've been absolutely amazed, Louise. He's 20 years old, 19 when he came to Formula One. His maturity, his common sense, his equanimity have absolutely amazed me. But on top of that, he's a thumping good driver. He's been out-qualifying and out-driving Ralf Schumacher, who we thought was the bee's knees. He had that quite incredible 3rd place on the grid in Belgium. He did well at Silverstone. Now, the significant thing to me is that on circuits that he knows, Silverstone and Belgium, Spa. And Spa is a real driver's circuit. He has performed admirably. He is, in my opinion, a superstar of the future. He scored points in 5 of the 13 races that we've had so far in his first season. Terrific.
But how good do you think he'll turn out to be? Do you think he's the best we've had since Mansell,
Well,
the
I
best
don't
British driver?
know. So many things can drop between the cracks in Formula One, and this is his first season. He's going to Benetton next year, and that's going to be a very different team to Williams. But I would be prepared to put a heck of a lot of money on it and say that he's not only going to win a lot of Grand Prix, but he's a potential new British world champion to follow in the footsteps of Jackie Stewart, Nigel Mansell, Jim Clark, Mike Hawthorne, and so on.
We've seen an unbelievable amount also this year of spectacular action, I think, haven't we? I mean, weird things happening, but not least, I mean, everyone says you can't overtake in Formula One, and yet we've had some of the most amazing overtaking.
David Coulthard overtaking in France, overtaking Michael Schumacher, and doing it very, very forcefully indeed. David Coulthard overtaking Rubens Barrichello at Silverstone in very difficult circumstances.
And of course, the overtaking manoeuvre in Spa.
Yeah, which amused me. I mean, I'm accused of being a Schumacher lover, but I have to admit that the first move that Mika Häkkinen made on Schumacher, going up to Les Combes, the right-left, was, shall we say, vigorous, sturdy, certainly was. But the way Mika grasped his opportunity as they came up to Ricardo Zonta and dived on the right when Schumacher was going to the left, and Zonta has subsequently said that he didn't go to the right because it was damp there. So Mika Häkkinen took his courage in both hands and dived through. And talking about forceful manoeuvres and making the most of your opportunities, let us not forget that not once but twice, 2 races in succession, Mika Häkkinen has started off the front row of the grid and been in the lead by the first corner by diving between David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher and Jarno Trulli on one occasion.
Those are incredible starts that he made.
Oh,
dynamic, weren't they?
Even he thought they were fantastic.
Yeah.
And when you bear in mind that they're balancing 800 horsepower on a hand clutch with very little movement, you know, I have to admit that in a situation where I have always said Michael Schumacher is head and shoulders above everyone else, there's very little in it between the two of them now, between Häkkinen and Schumacher.
Do you think the power balance changed, though, with that pass in Spa? Do you think psychologically that's made any difference to the way Schumacher approaches Häkkinen?
There are people now saying that Michael Schumacher is over the hill, and in previous years he wouldn't have let Häkkinen do it to him. And he was undoubtedly very surprised when Häkkinen passed him on the right at 210 miles an hour, 50 yards from an 80 mile an hour corner. No, I don't think the balance has changed. I think that Schumacher is still better, but not as much better as he used to be.
Where do you stand on the whole issue of Schumacher starts and those blocking manoeuvres, as David Coulthard called them?
I stand sturdily and forcefully in support of Michael Schumacher. I think a lot of lily-livered people are being very negative about what is a forceful sport. I mean, Michael Schumacher himself said recently, what are we doing? Are we sitting around drinking cups of tea or racing? And they're racing. I mean, when Nigel Mansell did exactly the same thing to Nelson Piquet at Silverstone in 1987 in the Williams, he was a national hero, and we've talked about it ever since. But it's the evil Michael Schumacher that's doing it that make people start to doubt it. I'm all for it, and long may it continue. It is motor racing.
There's been an enormous gap this year between the top 2 teams and the rest, hasn't there? More than last year. If you think about back to last year, the Jordan was up there towards the end, he won a couple of races, but it's a second a lap, Murray, between the Williams, sorry, the Ferrari and the McLaren and the rest of the field.
Yeah, incontrovertibly true, but 'twas ever thus. If you look back over the years, I mean, there's been a long period when Williams totally dominated. In 1988, McLaren won 15 out of 16 races and would have won the 16th if Senna hadn't been driven into by Schlesser. We've had Ferrari dominating. The Formula One ebbs and flows. It is flowing in the direction of McLaren and Ferrari at the moment. But in a year's time, Ferrari are going to lose a lot of their star people, and they're going to be in trouble, and they may be down the mine. I can't, funnily enough, see the same thing happening to McLaren, because I think Ron Dennis is a lot smarter than that.
Let me ask you a question then. Who do you think will take the step up, and who are the teams that are around at the moment that will move up to that?
Well, Jordan, because they've been on an upward climb for some time, and next year they've got Honda, and the Japanese are very forceful indeed, and Eddie needs no encouragement, but he's going to get it from Honda. And Williams, the BMW engine has been fantastic in its first year, way above anybody's expectation, especially BMW's. Next year they've got a new engine, and they're going to have a year's experience behind them. In 2 years' time, Williams will be winning races again.
How crucial do you think tomorrow's race, Italian Grand Prix, is for David Coulthard?
Well, it is. I remember saying in Belgium, this race is critical, and it was. But Monza is last gasp, I think. If David does not beat Häkkinen at minimum tomorrow, he's going to get the old call from Ron Dennis, we'd like your help. Again, David, like last year and the year before, defer to Häkkinen, and I would hate to see that happen.
Is Schumacher going to have an advantage here, being Ferrari's home Grand Prix?
I don't think so. I mean, there was another cliche that Nigel Mansell used to say, the crowd at Silverstone is worth a second a lap. And Jacques Villeneuve says, if you've got a second a lap left in you, you weren't driving fast enough. So, no, I don't think it is. I don't think it is, really. I mean, Michael Schumacher is beyond pressure now. But sadly, I think you have to say that Ferrari are dropping back, and the thing that may well destroy them in the race tomorrow is the fact that their tyre wear seems to be greater than McLaren's now in similar circumstances and on fast circuits like this. McLaren just seem to have a better balanced car, and they've certainly got a better partnership of drivers in Häkkinen and Coulthard than, in my opinion, Ferrari have in Schumacher and Barrichello. This is where, in my opinion, Barrichello sadly has proved to be a weak link.
We've got this new first chicane. They're all going to be bearing down on it from the start at about 140 miles an hour, breaking down for a very, very tight sort of left and right. Quite a few people, including the drivers, think there's going to be a giant pile-up. What do you think?
I can see me disappearing through the commentary box roof around about the first corner.
And off goes.
Yeah, it's happened so many times at the past, at Monaco and at Spa, and to some extent here. But if you look at it, the new corner is virtually a right angle. And Schumacher said this afternoon, he said, well, it is up to us drivers to be disciplined about this sort of thing. Show me 22 disciplined Formula One drivers when the lights go green and the first corner is 100 yards up the road, and I'll show you a very strange sight. They don't know the meaning of the word. I fear that there's going to be a mega carambolage, if that is the right word to use.
So just 4 races to go. News of what happened.
It's time to bring you up to date with all the news of the qualifying session for tomorrow's Italian Grand Prix. James has the story.
150,000 Italian fans today saw the rebirth of Ferrari as Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello took the front row of the grid. It was a close-run thing between the two of them, Barrichello almost pipping his teammate for pole position. McLaren, they were never in it. Both Mika Häkkinen and David Coulthard failed to find the sweet spot, the 3 or 4 tenths of a second a lap advantage they've had in the last few races. With the new chicane here, the first corner on the lap, the start is going to be absolutely crucial. Therefore, so are the grid positions. Advantage Ferrari. So the grid looks like this. Michael Schumacher's 29th career pole and his 6th this season, alongside him Rubens Barrichello, an all-Ferrari front row. Then Mika Häkkinen 3rd because of misfire in the last 2 runs, and Jacques Villeneuve best ever qualifying for BAR. David Coulthard 5th again as he was 2 weeks ago in Spa, and Jarno Trulli in the Jordan. Ralf Schumacher lower than expected in the BMW Williams, alongside Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the 2nd Jordan. Row 5, Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton and Pedro de la Rosa, both arrows going strongly. Row 6, Jos Verstappen, and alongside him Jenson Button left himself a lot to do in the race. Row 7 sees Alex Wirtz in the second of the Benettons, with Eddie Irvine alongside him. Jaguar having yet another nightmare in qualifying. Then on row 8, the two Saubers, Salo and Pedro Diniz. Row 9 sees Ricardo Zonta, 1 second slower than Jacques Villeneuve, but 13 places behind him on the grid, and Johnny Herbert. Then it's a Lacey and Heidfeld, another woeful day for the Prost team in qualifying, and on the back of the grid, Marc Genet and Gaston Mazzacani in Italy's other Formula One team, Minardi.
Thanks, James. So we're all revved up and raring to go for tomorrow's Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Don't forget you can watch the whole race on ITV. The coverage starts at 12:15. But for now, from James, Murray and me, we hope you've enjoyed the past 3 hours. We certainly have. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.